Hey there, just giving an audio test out to Zoom land. Everyone good?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect, thanks.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Community Advisory Committee meeting. And it looks like we have a quorum, so I call the meeting to order. Do we need to do introductions of anybody new? I don't have anybody on my list. But we'll introduce John when we do when he speaks. Okay. Well, we have two consent items. The agenda in the minutes. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda in the minutes? Oh, you need to push the little red button.
We approve them.
Sharon Brown, second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye or raise your hand with a big smile. Opposed? Right here. Thank you very much. The consent items are approved. Do we have any public comments? She's shaking her head, so no public comments to add and consider on the agenda. So let's move on to information item 4A. So is it Danielle on the line?
Yes, Danelle Miller,
There
Senior.
Danelle is, yes.
Hello, nice to see you. I'm sorry I'm not there in person. I had a commitment in Palmer Lake with the planning folks up there today, and I couldn't quite get back down to PPACG in time. So apologize for that, but I am here and we can get started. I believe John Hall is in the room today. So there was a request at the May CAC meeting regarding the Fillmore Street to Garden of the Gods Road project on I-25. And John is there to give an overview and answer any questions you might have.
So John is the resident engineer at CDOT?
Yeah, I'm a resident.
A resident engineer at CDOT. So thank you, John. Go ahead.
So, my unit, Mitch Holk in particular, is the project manager for this project. So yeah, mostly I'm here to just answer whatever questions that you have, but I certainly give you a quick rundown. As your readout says, about $52 million. That's actually an updated estimate right now. We just got some latest information on that, and that's our estimate for just the construction phase right now. We have a total of $49 million. And the pre-construction is about 3.5 million is our estimate and budgeted amount in the pre-construction. We have $49 million of total budget available right now on the project. It's mostly the SB funding, the state funding, and about 6 million of it is also resurfacing funding for I-25. So based on our current estimates, we still have a little bit of work to figure out, exactly how it gets in budget with some of the latest inflationary trends. But we are looking to advertise the project this fall and really be under construction potentially before the year is out. Now, granted, when starting winter construction, that would really be kind of utility related. The scope of the project, we're going to be widening, if you will, although let me back off that term, right? Because it's a term that we don't want to use loosely, but we're going to be expanding the road to the inside putting barrier down the middle. And as we do that and make some super elevation corrections, we're going to replace the bridges at Elston. They are too narrow to accommodate the shoulder widths and stuff that are to standard nowadays. So that's part of the improvement is improve the shoulder widths. And the main improvement is going to be to connect the auxiliary lanes. So we're going to have a continuous, if you will, on the northbound, for example, the on-ramp from Fillmore, and that will have the full length all the way to Garden of the Gods, where it'll then drop off again at Garden of the Gods. The same thing in the opposite direction, southbound, the on-ramp will come up. It will be continuous all the way through to the Fillmore ramps. So that, as everybody knows who drives that, particularly in the afternoon, that segment on northbound, but equally in the mornings on southbound in particular, just all the merges, some of the distances that that motorists have to make those merge movements. We expect this to really help alleviate that. And the other thing we're looking at also, more than looking at, we're going to be including some ramp themselves upgrades, just little things, tweaks to the ramp metering. And as an example, northbound is likely to have, for example, that number 3 lane, that right through lane will still have a drop. So you'll be able to be in the actual off-ramp lane, the auxiliary lane, or that number 3 lane to that existing number 3 to take the off-ramp. So again, things like that will make there more choices within some of the lanes and allow for less weaving, which should in turn prevent conflicts with motorists, people haven't hit the brakes and that congestion that we're kind of seeing there, that seems to be a lot related to that. So that's it.
So do we have any questions?
Yes, this is Gary Sugar. A couple questions. So the on-ramp from Fillmore going north is currently just 1 lane of traffic on the metered access. Is that going to expand to 2? Can you tell me the approximate cost of replacing the bridge, what percentage of the project that is, and the percentage cost of expanding the acceleration lanes on both sides, what percentage of the project that is also? Thank you.
Well, I don't have a very set percentage or anything I can necessarily give you. I'd have to research that a little more to give you a breakdown like that. Yes, they are looking at expanding the northbound on ramp from Fillmore to have a second metered lane coming down. Just in round ballpark numbers, though, I mean, the bridge replacement is probably in the as little as $3 million range. And that's really kind of accounting for everything structure related. It's a short bridge. It's not, it is wide to accommodate the laneage on I-25, even just existing, and some improved shoulders and the auxiliary lanes that we're going to be connecting. But the structure itself is probably, like I said, probably in the $2 to $3 million range. Now, in replacing that structure, one of the things that was not done years ago with the Cosmics project, it did not replace the bridge, and in turn, it left I-25 has a super elevation, right? It's a curve in your handout that's also shown on the screen. Imagine someone driving southbound from right to left on that. When you hit that curve, it's only about a 2% cross slope. And that's both directions. That's not the standard. It should be twice that cross slope. So it wasn't fixed with Cosmics in part because of budgets and stuff like that. And they weren't replacing the Elston Bridge. Now that we're going to be fixing that. When you add in the costs of correcting that super elevation and those aspects, which continue for hundreds and hundreds of feet, in fact, really about 1,000 feet in each direction, you get probably a good $5 to $6 million more of just total pavement work that has to go into the tie-ins and all to that new structure. So in that, if you account for that, if you would like to consider that to be kind of part of the bridge replacement costs, then you're up around the $7 million mark on the project and all. And I'm not including, for example, like C.C and indirects, which if you throw that in the mix, you're probably talking of that entire 52 million, we're probably talking right in the $10 million range for that type of work. So then the rest of the project, the widening, and again, I shouldn't use the word widening, but the improving of the widths of the road to get the shoulders, to get the auxiliary lane through, is probably about 40 million, another $40 million on it. So again, depending on if you count that cross slope into it, about 20% for all the structure stuff. The actual structure itself is as little as about 5% of the total project. It's really pavement. And of course, we're going to be resurfacing the existing road, more than just resurfacing, because as I said, with the super elevation incorrect, we got to put layer upon layer of asphalt on top of even the existing road to get it there. So did I answer you fully enough?
Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to get an idea. I was thinking maybe it was the bridges that were the cost, but I didn't understand changing the elevation, cross elevation. So that makes some sense, because that's it's 1.7 miles and we're talking $52 million. So that's $25 million, more than $25 million a mile. So it's an expensive.
Yeah.
I guess that my general question is, what is the average cost per mile today to do interstate?
Well, again, I don't have a great big statistical answer, but I can tell you from my efforts, I don't know if anybody, but in 2018, my region down here shipped me off to Region 1 to serve on the GAP project. I got to be the project director for the year, try to get that project kicked into gear. And I did some research when I was part of that project, and I found that, and this is 5 years ago, and we've had some significant differences in prices since then. That was actually probably a pretty lean time on prices. I researched a bunch of projects up and down I-25 that were doing, now they were doing express lanes, most of those projects. But essentially putting additional pavement width on I-25, 2 lanes to maybe 3 lanes, which, isn't the exact scope we have, but in terms of pavement widths, it's probably very similar. And those would have been slightly narrower projects. Those were right about $20 million a mile. That was about the minimum cost. 20 to 25 is about the cost that it takes to, almost exclusively, all of those projects came in right in that 20, 21, 22 at about the time. And,
Per mile.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually surprised to see that. And the gap itself is right in there in that same window. I can tell you that project was.
So that means that for 18 months, that little section will be worse than it is now.
Well, the plan is to phase that so that it will maintain 3 through lanes in each direction for the entire construction. I mean, obviously not overnight and things like that where we'll take an additional lane, but during the peak daytime hours, there should be 3 operating lanes at all times. And in particular, that's going to have us slightly overbuilding at least one of the structures on Elston, with some additional shoulder widths and all to make sure that can happen. So then we can phase traffic on it. Yeah.
It is what it is.
So obviously any construction zone will pinch traffic, and there could be some, even less ability, the ramps might not be better during construction. They're not, we're going to try to make them not worse, but during the construction, it's not going to be better, but we're going to keep those 3 through lanes and really hopefully not have a severe degradation of traffic.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hey, Carol, you have to ask a question. You came in person.
This is
Okay.
Patty Benter. I have a question.
Go ahead, Patty.
Your memo indicates that starting as early as fall. I assume that's this fall, and I just wondered if you had any updated dates on when we can expect that project to start.
Well, yeah, as I said before, I mean, we're trying to advertise it here in probably October. It could conceivably start here again before the end of the year. That would the winter work would manifest itself mostly with utility. There's a major ITS line, and in particular, but some of the other utilities that run parallel to I-25 need to get replaced and moved off of the existing Elston structure to really open the door for that Elston Bridge structure to get going. So we would anticipate spring is when you'd really start to see, roadway work of the structure itself, starting to get the phase one of that structure get built. So you'd see kind of a demo and then a partial demo of one of the structures and then moving it. And I'm almost positive it's southbound. Wish I did have my project engineer, but but mostly the first part of the work would be building that new structure kind of offline, starting to build it and get it ready to go. So that we can then put traffic on it on phase two, probably late 2023.
Thank you. And one last question, and this may be for PPACG's John. Is this an item that we're going to need to vote on in the future, or Janelle, maybe you can answer that, or is this just information the entire time?
Well, Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments has to, CDOT doesn't do really anything within the MPO without getting approval of the PPACG. So this is, right now it's the SB type funding sources, whether it's 167 and stuff like that. It's SHV. I'm not even sure the exact details on that stuff. I leave that to the folks up at headquarters, but you all will certainly be part of the approval process. I don't think that there's going to be us, at least there's not any expectation right now of CDOT looking to push for, any sort of SDP Metro or anything like that. That's a direct fund source that you guys generally use. But there is the potential funding gap. So how CDOT finds ways to fill that, whether it's increased resurfacing funding, stuff like that. Those, all of those actions would certainly have a nexus here with you all, because we don't do anything without getting the funding approved through you.
Yes, I can clarify that a little bit. The original project was added to the Transportation Improvement Program in 2019. And it is primarily SB 260 funds at this point. So any addition in funds will come back to CAC at some point in the future. But for right now, it's just an informational item.
Okay, thank you. That was all I had.
Thank you, Patty. Any other questions before we move on to the next item? I don't think so. All right. Information item 4B, Unified Planning Work Program Update. I think that's another Danelle thing.
It is. I get to talk a lot today. And thank you, John, for coming. I know you have to get out and have some other commitments. So thank you very much. So our next item is our update of our UPWP, our Unified Planning Work Program. And this is a document that states what our transportation group is going to do with our consolidated planning grant that comes to us from FTA and FHWA. And this is a document that is developed every 2 years. And in the off years, we do an update. This year is as an off year, so we have an update. And we did include a link to the full draft document in the memo, and also an executive summary of the changes that we are proposing. Primarily, it is we added some information for the IIJA the new requirements that have come from that piece of legislation. There are some revised dates that we have changed. We added some or made some changes to some financial numbers. Again, due to IIJA, we have an increase in our consolidated planning grant money. And so we wanted to update that, of course. And then there were some minor updates here and there to our different work elements. For example, there is a complete streets requirement from the IIJA that we've included. There's a regional safety analysis that we'd like to undertake. And a couple of global changes here and there to correct things or just keep them up to date. And John is also on the line if you have any questions, but I'd be happy to answer anything you might have.
Any questions? I saw there was an increase, on the financial side, in funds that are being rolled over from one year to the other. Of course, I read that a couple of days ago. Due to staffing changes and adjustments, that kind of thing. So it's looks to me like the closer we get to things is when there's lots of adjustments like this, when we're getting closer to reality versus when we thought about this, 5 years ago. So it seems like that kind of is a normal thing to happen. I didn't see anything abnormal unless you could highlight something.
No, nothing really abnormal. We did, we had some staff turnover. So there was some open seats for a while. So that is part of the rollover funds. John, is there anything I've missed that you'd like to point out?
No, the other thing is, again, it's actuals versus estimates. And so when we did the estimates of the funding last year, it was based on the continuation of the FAST Act. And now with the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, or IIJA, there is an increase of federal dollars. So that's the other sort of big change. I want to point out that you guys used abnormal, and I didn't make a single Young Frankenstein joke, so I should get some credit for that.
Don, don't you remember it's Frankenstein? Frankenstein, something like that.
That's right. That's right. Abby, somebody. Abby. Normal.
Any other questions? Whoops, I can hear somebody in the background. No other questions, I guess, so we can move on to the action items.
Excellent.
Item 5A, membership appointment. So what do we need to do on that one? Let's see.
I believe I can read this one as well. We are looking at doing some nominations for the CAC membership. The nominating subcommittee reviewed 2 applications received and interviewed the candidates. And the nominating committee is recommending Ms. Sheila Williams for the citizen at large seat based on her qualifications, interest, and what she will bring to the committee. And I believe all 3 of the members of the subcommittee are on the line today. So if there are any questions, I think we can answer those at this point.
Yes, could a member of that committee kind of give us a rundown of why you chose her before we put her membership to a vote?
Hi, this is Tanisa. Yes, we interviewed both candidates. Both of them were very qualified as far resume goes. We asked them questions, various questions, what they brings. For this specific candidate who we decided to move forward with, she has a very large connection in her community, and she's in a rural area where she can actually take a lot of information back from PAG to actually in her community, especially the elderly community. She was also supporting. She was in church organization where she's well connected as far information exchange goes. Other member, I personally felt like the other member also qualified certain ways. However, we have other representation for that type of things. As a CAC, we are basically more taking information, and it's not something that as a CAC member, we want to organize how CAC runs. So those are for me, those are the fact that I thought that Ms. Sheila will bring more to the committee, plus take more to her community and make an impact.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
this is Roy Rosenthal. I concurred with those conclusions as well.
So what, is she from a particular part of town or a particular community?
She was up in Teller County,
Teller County?
one of the smaller communities. I don't
Oh,
remember
okay.
which one.
Any other comments?
Bill Bowles. I have worked with Sheila quite a bit on the Park County Senior Coalition, and she, when you get her started, look out, you'll get run over.
Well, that's good. Okay, thank you. Well, do I have a motion to approve the committee's recommendation to appoint Sheila Williams as a CAC citizen at large?
I move to appoint Sheila Williams as the citizen at large to fill that seat.
That's
Terry Hayes.
Terry Hayes, okay. And a second?
Patty Benger, I'll second that.
Thank you, Patty. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
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 I see lots of waving hands. Okay, good. Any opposed? Then that motion carries. Thank you all. Our next action item 5B, tip amendment 1. Danelle's on deck again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. We do have a tip amendment that has been requested by CDOT. There's just one project. This is an addition of a project, and it's $300,000 in state FASTER funding for the initial design of an improvement project at I-25 Baptist Road and Terrazzo Drive. And Jess, if I can share the screen for just a moment. Let's see.
Go for it.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the intersection in question. And the reason that they have chosen this area to do this project is for safety concerns with the traffic coming off of I-25 and this truck stop area. So there is not a set design at this point. This project would, at least at this phase, would fund the design. But that's what we're asking for today, is to add this item to the transportation improvement program.
All right, so any discussion or questions about this before we take a motion? I can't see the people's faces anymore, so I'm assuming it's no. Speak now. Oh, there they are. They're back. Okay. How about a motion to recommend approval?
Sharon Brown, so move.
Thank you, Sharon. In a second.
Roy
Second, Ed
Rosenthal,
Dills.
second.
Oh, got a couple seconds. Ed, I think was the first, got it
Okay.
first. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, I see lots of ayes. Opposed? All right, that motion carries also.
Thank you.
Whoops. All right, those were the two action items. Now open for member discussion. So members, here's your chance. Do I have any? Usually there's something. Hey, Patty, you usually have something.
I usually do, but I can't think of anything new to share this time.
This is Ann. I don't know if I've been reappointed or not yet from Green Mountain Falls, but can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, earlier this month, not long ago, we had a meeting in Woodland Park about the surface of Interstate 24 up into the mountains. And it was a wonderful meeting. The mayors were all there. Eric Stone, let's see, Eric didn't come, but the mayors and other people and the CDOT people were there. John was there. Leas, I can't say his name, you know who I mean. He set it up, and it was a wonderful, wonderful meeting. And also they're filling all the potholes. They've already done it in front of Green Mountain Falls, and we're very grateful for that. So I thought I'd let you know that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ann.
Mhm.
Any other comments or anything to discuss? How about items for the next CAC meeting? This is the world's fastest CAC meeting ever. Okay, attached to your packet, what is the PPACG meeting and event schedule? So there should be no surprises of what's coming up. And I have nothing more on my agenda unless you guys do, so we could even adjourn this meeting.
Works.
I have to
That
think
works.
of something. So,
Oh, good, Patty, go ahead.
Jessica, I wondered, a while back, we took a new picture of this committee right after the new logo was painted on the wall there. And I hadn't seen it updated, and I think that we probably have had many changes since then. I just wondered if there's any upcoming picture taking that we should know about.
Nothing scheduled at the moment. We're having a little bit of a switch around in staff liaison here at the CAC, but we certainly could schedule something, here soon. It's pretty light attendance in person, so if we give everyone enough heads up, we can do that and update the website and whatnot.
Thank you. It's just curiosity, really. I know it's a pretty outdated picture online, but I'm not sure how important it is.
No, I think that'd be great if we could move towards that. Maybe summer, July, August, it's usually kind of light. People tend to have a lot of plans around them. But if we could get everybody in and do an all in-person meeting, if everyone would be open to that, then we could certainly get a new picture. And I think that'd be great because I know the picture online is very old, about 5 years ago committee. So it'd be
A lot
great
happens in
to-
5 years.
yeah, big changes. So that would be great. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, that's a great idea, Patty. What does the group think? Should we do it next month or wait till the fall and to get you all here so we can see you face to face? Any feedback?
I liked Jessica's suggestion of maybe waiting until September. That way everyone's back. Back in routines and from their summer vacations and everything.
Yeah, I'll kind of put it on the for agenda of the future to keep reminding. Let's shoot for September, October, see if we can, when we get a little bit closer, zero in on a date where everybody can be together. And I think that's a great idea. Anything else before we call
One
it a
more
day?
thing.
Yes, Ed.
Out in my part of the county, starting July 16th is the El Paso County Fair. We'd love to have you all come and attend that. That's for the week.
Yes. Yeah, that's a
That's all.
good reminder. Okay. All right. Well, I have nothing else. So, and I don't think I need a motion, so we can adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for joining us today. I see smiling faces. They're happy to go. And we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.